many happy faces here at the moment. Okay. Could you put the next slide on, please, Ian? Okay. I think everybody's getting the message now by the looks of things that you've got to have a qualifying scheme, you've got to enrol people without their consent, you've got to ensure that you collect their deductions and add your own and forward them within deadlines to pension providers, you've got to communicate in a prescribed way, and you've got to process opt-outs and refunds. The key thing about the opt-out is that the more commercial amongst you may well be thinking that it would be okay to have a little chat with employees and encourage them to opt out. Well, the bad news is that the opt-out itself can only be done through usually the insurance company or the provider of the pension scheme. The employer and the employer's payroll cannot directly accept the opt-out. So the way most pension providers would work is they provide a helpline, an employee can ring the helpline when he's in. He can then get a piece of paper that's specific to himself, that's printed off by the pension provider, which he can then give that piece of paper requesting the opt-out back to the employer. So they've circumvented the fact that some employers might well have thought that they could hand out the opt-out notice simultaneous with people joining. That's been knocked on the head effectively. And furthermore, any employer who is seen to be encouraging opt-outs in any shape, way or form risks directors going to prison basically. It's a criminal offence. So probably best just to let nature take its course. Okay. Enforcement. I get all the good ones. Enforcement. Okay. So if there's been a survey done of employers, and you guys obviously are not in the category, but an awful lot of employers have basically already reported the fact that they intend to completely ignore the regulations, and they're not going to do anything basically. And the pensions regulator has come up with a staged stages of what he's going to do. He's going to write you a letter, then he's going to put a fixed notice like a parking ticket on the employer, so it's going to be £400. But if employers still keep ignoring him, there's going to be fines that escalate, and basically it's a daily, those figures in the right hand column of the table are a daily rate relative to the number of employees you employ. And as I say, so a week, if you've got 6 employees and you decided to do nothing about it, it's going to be £3,000 fine just for that week. So the pensions regulator is not messing around, and we suggest to you that it's probably better to comply than not comply. Thank you.
Thanks very much then, Mike. So you can see there's an awful lot to take into consideration there. What Mike was talking about, even coming to those levels of fines and jail. Obviously nobody wants that at all. So what we've done at Asset Management is put some solutions together to try and help you overcome all these obstacles that have been talked about in today's presentation. What I want to do is just go through a few of those with you now. The way that we can help is we can help to build an action plan and a timeline of actions that are going to be necessary for you to complete between now and your annual staging date. So you know exactly what needs to be done and when it needs to be done by. We can help to research and recommend the providers and the middleware software tools which are going to be most appropriate for yourself based on cost and capability, functionality. We can consult with you and look at the best salary definitions and percentages to use to meet your needs for the way that you structure your pay for your staff, and be that for either make it most cost effective or to make it a all singing, all dancing proposition. Whatever you're looking for, we can help to mirror that, to mould that for you. We can help to develop the communication strategy for your staff as well. We can help with regards to template for the letters, for the strategy that need to be go out. We could do that on a face-to-face meeting if you wanted us to. Whatever strategy you want us to put in place, we can cater for. We can help to sign up the actual pension scheme itself, so set that up for you, with you, and even go and meet with the individuals and sign them up to give the levels of advice to explain about different investment opportunities and contributions should your staff want to contribute more than just the minimums. And we can provide ongoing reviews for both you and for your staff, so we can review the schemes, we can help you with your scheme terms, and we can give further advice on anything that you feel you'd like as well. Now, what we've done is we've basically got two camps at the moment we see. We've got the traditional pension providers that have been around for years. Some of you probably have pensions with them. You may have group pension schemes with some of these. Now, these companies came to the market very early. They provided an awful lot of support to the larger companies. It was very labour intensive. They were providing lots of implementation teams, and it was all people coming in and working within the company, which was great at the time for those individual companies that had it. They were providing the middleware that Mike has alluded to for free at times, but also other times they would charge people for it. And potentially they may give you a larger investment opportunity than some of the other options. So that was great in the early days. But as time's gone on, more and more companies are now reaching their staging date. They're really starting to struggle with that model. And what we're finding is that they're becoming more and more selective to the schemes that they're choosing. We're finding that they are starting to remove a lot of the implementation teams, adding new costs onto their propositions. And these costs, with a lot of what's been going on in legislation recently, can't be going back to the employee. They have to go directly to you as the employer. So that's going to be a financial cost directly to you for using their schemes. So that concerns us a bit. And we just think, where is this capacity going to end? I think they're going to end pretty soon. But what's come to the market because of auto-enrolment is this third generation of pension provider. They work a bit different. They may not have the implementation teams. They're working on a streamlined proposition. A lot of it's going to be internet-based, computer-based, to help you be able to have a self-service kind of model. The investment opportunities may not be so wide, but they'll be more streamlined to meet the masses. But what they are going to do is they are going to take on pretty much every company that goes to them and asks for a pension scheme, and they're going to do that at a really reasonable cost, both for you as an employer, but also for your employees, the ongoing charges that are built into the scheme. So we don't think there's a right or wrong. I think it's depending on the company and depending on your structure and your criteria that you're looking for, there's going to be an option there for everyone. But what we've done is we've built a proposition that is looking more at the new generation schemes, because we think that the majority of companies are going to want to be able to just meet their minimum obligation with the littlest fuss possible and the lowest amount of cost. And we've seen so many other companies, other financial advice companies out there offering propositions which were like the traditional insurance companies. It's all hands-on, lots and lots of intensive work. In order to do that, it's with a large fee. So what we've tried to do is build this proposition that's going to be able to help you do what you need to do, but at a reasonable cost. So I want to show you what that looks like. So we're calling it the Asset Management Auto-Enrolment Compliance Process proposition. It's a two-stage process. What we would do initially is provide you as an employer with a employer auto-enrolment fact find. So we built this fact find, which has specific information about your company, which we want you to complete and send back to us. What we're going to be able to do with that information is review that to understand your makeup. We can then see from there, are you going to be a company that is going to be able to go down a nice, simple, streamlined route, or is there more complicated situations within your firm that may mean there's further advice and different advice that we might need to give? We will review that and then have a meeting with you, and that's at our own expense, that meeting. So we meet with you to be able to explain our findings from the fact finding provided to us, and then decide if you're happy to work with asset management. At that stage, if you decide that you want to work with us, we will then provide a detailed report looking at all the steps that you're going to need to take, giving you all the recommendations to be able to keep you compliant, to get you to your staging date and beyond. Once we've written that report, what we then look to do is come and present that to you. We can, at that presentation meeting, we can decide on the exact steps that we're going to take, what of our recommendations you're going to take on. Now, at that stage, to provide that for you, that's at a cost of £500. You can decide, once you've made that payment, you can decide to either walk away and use that recommendation and work on it yourself. Alternatively, if you want to work with us and help you implement that, then we can go to stage 2. So, as we can see here, stage 2 is assuming a master trust pension provider. So this is this new wave, new generation pension. Nest is the company that is more than likely going to be reviews for most of these. Now what we would do here is we would have an agreed meeting with you to look at the project plan and build the actual steps that we're going to be taking and look at the communications that are going to be needed for you to send to your staff. We then have an online meeting where we would actually submit and build the actual pension scheme. So we go online and set it up for you, with you. What we then do is have an overview of the installation of this software. So there's going to be somewhere we're going to need to access middleware. You may have a payroll system that can provide that, and we're going to need to link that to your pension scheme, or you may not. If you don't, we will then need to look at a third-party piece of middleware which is going to be set up, installed, and then linked to the pension provider. And we're going to provide help and assistance on that. What we then have is a further meeting, online meeting as you can see here, which is going to provide us with the agreed file protocols and monthly processes that are going to be built in for the ongoing assessments. And then you're going to have 3 key stages after that, and we're going to help you on each of those key stages. If you decide to do postponement, then we're going to need to have a meeting on that, and we'll help you there with regards to sending out the right letters to your staff. When you get to your first assessment, you're going to need to be drawing data out of your payroll systems, having that in the correct format, and filing that to the new pension provider. We're going to help you to go through that process. And then what you're also going to need to do after that stage, very soon after that, is make your first pension contribution. And again, we'll help you go through the system and show you how that works and how we hand through that. And for that second stage, the full implementation, that would be a cost of a further £750. So that's a proposition that we think is very, very cost effective in the market. It's very streamlined. It's going to help you to do what you need to do at a minimum basis. And it's for a straightforward company. As we know, not every company is going to want to go down this route, or aren't always going to be as straightforward as some. Now, if that's the case, we also have a further proposition available to you. So we're calling it our Compliance Plus proposition. Now, what we'd be able to do here, should you have an existing pension scheme in place, or want to go, or try and go for one of the traditional pension providers, we can go and open up reviews of the full market, decide which is going to be the most appropriate for your needs. You may be in a position where you, as directors, have a separate director's pension. It might be an executive pension plan, or SAS, or SIPS, something around those lines. So that wouldn't always fit into the scheme that we've talked about. Now, if that is the case, we would be able to provide reviews and ongoing service on that as well, because one of the key things to take into consideration is, even though you may be a director or an owner of a company, it doesn't get you away from automatic enrolment. You will still be automatically enrolled. So we need to look at how we can get things in place for that for you. You may not even have one of the larger payroll systems like Sage, for instance. You may have something separate that you've got. Now, if that's the case, it's going to be a little bit more complicated, but we can provide the help and assistance and service to make sure that we can still get you through your auto-enrolment. You may want to take on salary sacrifice. You may be doing that already and want to continue to do so. The initial proposition we showed doesn't have that built in. So if you do want to go down that route, again, there's going to be extra advice that we're going to need to help you with on that. Other things that we're going to be able to do, if you wanted us to, is look at, if we're going down the route of some of the more traditional providers, is look at different investment opportunities. With the streamlined option we've got, there's a limited number of investments. With some of the others, it's huge. So we can use our experience and knowledge to point you in the right direction as to what kind of portfolios to choose for your staff. We can even do it on a one-to-one basis with them if necessary. We can provide you with ongoing scheme governance and review, so we can help you when you get to doing your scheme returns. We can help you to do that online if you want us to. And the last thing that we can do as well, if you wanted, is we can have ongoing meetings, reviews with your employees, so they are not thinking that they've got this pension that they don't know about, that they can meet with us on a regular basis. We can explain to them what they've got in there, what will they need to achieve certain levels of retirement, and give them further advice. So I think you can see we've really covered both camps there. So for this simple structure, we've got a really good proposition in place. And for something that's a little bit more complicated, we can cater for anything that you may need there as well. So that is us today. I hope you found that informative, and I hope you can see that the propositions we've got are going to be able to help everyone. I'll just pass now back to Roger.